Back in March 2020, as our cast was getting ready for the final evening performance of Romeo and Juliet, word came through that, like every other theatre and most businesses in the country, we were shutting down. The rest, as they say, is history. Fast forward 17 months later, and we were still waiting to get back fully to making plays. We've missed our junior cycle audiences this year, and knowing that you couldn't come to us, we've decided to come to you. Now, rather than trying to replicate your experience of seeing a live show, the Romeo and Juliet project seeks to complement your engagement with our work. Filmed at the DLR Mill Theatre in Dundrum, we take key scenes and examine how they move from page to stage. Cast discussions, insights into some of the choices made about the design of the production, how it will look and sound, and video footage of our rehearsal process will help us to give you a closer look at how we approach the work, to deepen your understanding of what is at stake in the play. Like us, your first encounter with Romeo and Juliet is through the text on the page. It only becomes a play when it's performed. The pandemic has meant that we've had to find new ways of engaging with you and showing you our performance of the text. So as we wait patiently, looking forward to when we can fully reopen our theatres and welcome our audiences back again, we hope that you enjoy the Romeo and Juliet project. This 14-line sonnet, written in iambic pentameter, acts as an introduction to Verona, but it's much more than this, for it sets out the course of the play and lets us know that our two star-crossed lovers will commit suicide. It's what's at stake in the play, all wrapped up in 14 lines. Shakespeare, it seems, didn't believe in spoiler alerts. And he didn't assign the prologue to any one character or a group of characters. So who speaks these 14 lines is a decision that the company must make. In our rehearsal, we played with the actors' voices and different ways of delivering the lines, from actors speaking in choral voice to sharing lines between various members of the cast, to using the single voice of just one actor. In reaching a decision, the director and cast need to ask themselves, what exactly do we want to achieve? Our answer: to tell the story clearly and introduce the company to our audience. Here, actor Michael James Ford takes on the delivery of the prologue, while the rest of the cast add their voices as whispers in the background, a mysterious echo following the voice that foretells the tale. In coming to a decision on how to stage it, director Jeff O'Keefe worked with the notion that here's a bunch of players coming to tell you a story. They're setting up the scene, they welcome you in, they begin.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth of fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured, piteous overthrows do with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which, but their children's end, naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage, the which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
Hi, I'm Neve and I'm playing Juliet. my name is Felix and I'm playing Romeo.
I'm Michael, and I play the part of Capulet, who is Juliet's father.
Hi, I'm Rachel and I play Benvolio, the nurse, and Lady Capulet. They couldn't have done it without me, could they? I'm only joking.
My name is Matt and I play Tybalt and the friar.
Hi, I'm Ethan and I'm playing Mercutio.
We all know Romeo and Juliet, right? Girl meets boy, they fall in love, happy days. But their families hate each other. Secrets are kept, lies are told, people get killed, and 2 teenagers end their lives. In their preparation for staging the work, the actors discuss what the play means for them.
I think the play is about forgiveness.
Bad decisions.
Conflict.
Mercutio.
Love.
Easy.
True love.
Young
too
love.
easy.
Lust.
First love.
yeah.
Lust.
Desire. But conflict as well.
Yeah.
He said that.
I already said that, Mercutio. Typical Mercutio thinking of himself.
Just repeating what you
other
said.
people are speaking too. Yeah.
Did anyone mention
You're all right.
love? Yeah.
Love,
Yeah,
definitely,
okay,
yeah.
said it.
And lust, yeah.
And conflict.
Conflict starts to emerge as a main theme to be considered. And here the actors talk about which of the scenes are best at showing that conflict.
I don't know, I think the fight between Mercutio and Tybalt, I mean, it basically is the distillation of all those things that came before. And Romeo's there begging them to stop, but
Eventually gets involved in fighting as well.
yeah, no,
Vengeance and revenge and
big time.
And also love. Love for his friend,
yeah.
which turns
But I
into
mean, there's
conflict.
a thin line between both of those things, like love and hate and
Yeah.
conflict. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
I
you
think
know
that's,
yourself.
That's really established in the scene between Capulet and Juliet. You know, when he's disowning her.
Yeah.
Because he loves her so much, but there's just a hatred there and that conflict. That's for me is the most conflict.
Yeah, I suppose like you would initially think conflict is violence
Yeah.
and peace, whatever. But like there's the conflict within
himself as
Juliet
well.
as well. You
Yeah.
know, and all these
Yeah.
things. What, like I love him, but should I be doing this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you need is love. And there are lots of examples to be found.
I love that
mean-
scene when Romeo throws himself down in front of the friar and says,
yeah.
you don't know what death is better than like banishment. So like that tearing apart of love and
Yeah.
just describing to this older man what love is.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's really, really beautiful.
Because there is that thing of like when you look at Romeo and Juliet, you think, you know, love obviously springs majorly to mind, but like there's the different types of love. Like there's the
Yeah.
genuine affection with the friar and Romeo, like that is based in love, and then obviously what they have is
And the nurse and Juliet, they if love is patient, love is kind. That's all within what the nurse tries to do for Juliet in her own misguided
She
way.
loves her so much.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I think I have to say it, the shared sonnet that they have.
Totally.
I mean, I think just the way it's so equal and stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
and it obviously,
How does it go?
if I profane,
Yes. I know the one.
it just fits perfectly like like a puzzle,
Yeah.
you know.
Love is never easy, especially when these families are involved. And in this play, love is a battlefield.
I mean, the opening of the play is just that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just straight away you're into it, you know.
Into a
Even
brawl.
though kind of
brawl, yeah.
Capulet doesn't really mind that Romeo's there. He's like, live and let live. But it's really Tybalt who is who shows off that divide.
Yeah,
You know.
and everyone knows a Tybalt, I know, in school
Yeah.
especially. Like
Who
you
just
always-
can't drop it.
yeah, just can't drop
Such
it. And
pride.
any slight against him, there has to be
Yeah.
retribution. And, you
Yeah.
know, the conflict between the two families is huge.
What do you think began it? What, like, that we don't get to see in the play? What do you think was the original thing that happened? Do you think it was something really small that just got blown out?
I think it is. I think you
Possibly,
still see it loads today, you
Yeah.
know, where people literally live like down
Or
the road
families
and they're like,
live,
oh,
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
so
we don't
different
talk to them,
because they're so blinded by it. When you know someone who wasn't from Verona would be like, you guys are literally exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you just
And it could have been something very small
Yeah.
or huge, for that matter, you know.
Or another Romeo and Juliet that they
Of that
of that
parents'
generation from back then where they were
maybe,
like, it doesn't work, and that's why you can't ever be with the...
Everyone has a favourite scene because it touches them in some way, or it makes sense to them. And the actors are no different.
I love the scene I just think it shows it really well when the nurse comes in and interrupts Romeo, Benvolio and Mercutio's, the Montague lads just having a bit of crack, and the nurse comes in and automatically the three of them just go, here's an opportunity. We're just going to, I don't know who this person is, but I know we can have a laugh and, ruin their day and make our day way better.
That's really
It's
fun.
just a real, you get that real
funny
sense of camaraderie in there from the three of them.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I think for me, well, just because it's from the Baz Luhrmann film, when I saw it when I was younger, and when you see Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, when they first lock eyes with each other, and you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they're in love.
Yeah.
It's just like magic.
I don't know. I have so many different favorite parts. I personally, I like the fight scene. Keep bringing it back.
Yeah, you're really.
I do. I love it because I think.
too?
Well, I think as an audience member, coming to see it, when it gets that tactile on stage and that aggressive, it literally is the manifestation of all of this boiling of energy at the start, and then you get it, and then that's the crux, the moment where it all goes down. And if the fight scene is done well, you can feel it in the audience.
Yeah.
Their visceral reactions to it, it's great.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I think, not so much a moment, but almost like a line that's said in it is when Juliet says, my bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. I think that's such a, sums up to me.
Love, doesn't it?
That it's just infinite,
Yeah.
It never runs out. The more I give to you, the more I have, because it's just infinite. I mean, I think that almost describes their love. It's just constant.
Yeah.
Constant.
Such a romantic.
Yeah, wow.
It's lovely.
Yeah. That's definitely
Throwing
my
out the
That's
quotes.
why he's Romeo.
as well,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
The relationship between friends Romeo, Mercutio and Benvolio is at its most joyous in Act 1, Scene 4. In spite of the fact that Romeo wants to ditch plans to go to the Capulet party, here the actors discuss their characters' friendship, but first they establish why Romeo is a party pooper.
So obviously I've gotten us tickets to I've got us on the list for the best party in town tonight, and then this guy just doesn't want to come along at all. What's that about?
Yeah. Felix, why is Romeo such a party pooper?
Why is he? I think because he really believes his dreams. And I think he had a dream last night that something terrible was going to happen and someone was maybe going to die if we go to this party. So I guess maybe just because he loves you guys. Doesn't want to think back.
Very dramatic, isn't it?
I know, yeah. He's not much of a dancer anyway, so maybe it's all just a lie for that,
Yeah.
Friendships can be complicated, and sometimes three's a crowd, so it's not surprising that the question was asked, who's your best friend?
Who do you love? Who do you love in the play?
Who do I love in the play?
Besides yourself.
Because he definitely loves himself, and he loves to hear himself speak, and he loves... But the two, like Benvolio and Romeo, he loves to make them laugh, and especially Romeo, like that scene where we're shouting over the garden wall to be like, Romeo, Romeo, come back. I mean, it's grand that you're there and you can hear all this and you think it's funny, but it's almost like it's not worth it unless Romeo hears it as well. So probably, he loves Romeo. Probably
more.
Sorry to say, but he might be his best
more
friend.
Wow.
than Benvolio.
And
What about you?
Who do I love?
Who do you love more?
Oh, you two.
Yeah, not Juliet. Juliet not included.
Oh, right. I mean, I think it's the different kinds of love. Maybe I feel like with Mercutio, it's almost like a bit of a flirtatious love, And then maybe with Ben, it's a bit more of like a brotherly love.
Brotherly
love.
love.
The same way that because they're cousins, you
Yeah.
have with your family.
Yeah.
I don't think I think of Mercutio as family. I think of him as
Yeah.
something else,
Yeah.
as a kind of equal or as like a brother well, that is family. I mean, someone you've met outside, because he looks up to him.
But I guess Mercutio has that thing that he can, because he's not a Montague, he hangs out with the Montagues, but he can float in between the two families a little bit, and he's related to the prince, so people know him, and he can get invited to this party, for example.
Because they kind of challenge each other, I think, in a way that friends do as equals.
Yeah.
Where Benvolio is kind of just like the old cousin,
Yeah,
what do you like?
The old liar.
Yeah.
But if you had to choose between one of us, If we are going to die and you could save one of us.
I'll probably let you both die.
Well, if you could
I'll
change...
be at Juliet's house, so I'm sorry, I can't. No, I'll be back later.
The character's fate seems to have been set in stone. But if they could have done things differently, would they?
If you could change what happens and by not ever meeting Juliet and it would save Mercutio, would you do it?
I don't think he would. I think
let
Juliet
him
means
die.
that much to him. I think if life without her, once he's met her, is worse than any kind of death or life. So I think
as well, Mercutio would have eventually
Yeah.
he was just burning too bright, and he would have burnt himself out anyway. If it didn't happen on that day with Tybalt, it would have happened.
Because I feel
pretty
like
soon
he
anyway.
knows the ramifications of being in love with her, that it's going to cause rifts and fights. And I think if he thought about it hard enough, maybe he would know that would lead to something. But he does it anyway, you know, which kind of
He's in too deep.
Yeah.
Would you
he's
have
in
done
too
something different, knowing what was going to happen? If you could do something different, do you have regrets?
I don't think so. I think because of that rivalry that Mercutio feels he has with Tybalt, and I think Tybalt's a bit like whatever, but because he has this Tybalt guy, I need to match him, and I need to be a better fighter than him, I need to be wittier than he is, that I think eventually himself and Tybalt will come to blows at some point, and they're just going to have a scrap about it, and obviously they both end up dead because of that.
Well, who did you say you fancy in it again? Who's the character you fancy?
Oh, Lady Capulet. Well, yeah, I just had a little dance with Lady Capulet in the party scene, which was...
And because Tybalt...
there's always a little relationship between Lady Capulet and Tybalt. I feel they try to lean into that, and I think that Mercutio would see that as well, and, be like, any way that I can mess this Tybalt guy up, any way I can annoy him, and I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to lean into it and ruin this guy's day any way I can. Because he's so, prim. He feels to me so prim and proper and straight, and probably better with a sword, with his knife, whatever it is. So Mercutio needs to, needs to try and match him,
In playing the scene, the actors find different aspects of their characters. We see Romeo as sensitive, emotional, capable of intense feelings. Mercutio steals the limelight, is quick-witted, but not without a dark side. And Benvolio is the thoughtful, sensible, caring friend, the reliable one. After much persuasion, the trio head off to the Capulet party and set in motion a series of events that will change all their lives.
What shall this speech be spoke of our excuse, or shall we on without an apology?
Oh, the date is out of such prolixity. We'll have no Cupid hoodwinked with a scarf, bearing the Tartar's painted bow of lath, scaring the ladies like a crow-keeper, nor no without book prologue, faintly spoke after the prompter for our entrance. But let them measure us by what they will. We'll measure them a measure and be gone.
Give me a torch.
Hey, gentle Romeo, we must have you down.
Not I. Believe me, you have dancing shoes with nimble soles. I have a soul of lead, so stakes me to the ground, I cannot move.
You are a lover. Borrow Cupid's wings and soar with them above a common bound.
I am to soar impierced with his shaft, to soar with his light feathers, and so bound. I cannot bound a pitch above a dull woe, under love's heavy burden do I sing.
And to think in it should you burden love. Too great oppression for a tender thing.
Is love a tender thing?
No.
It is too rude, too rough, too boisterous, and it pricks like a thorn.
If love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking, and you beat love down.
Come, knock and enter, and no sooner in, but every member takes him to his legs.
A torch for me.
Tut! Duns the mouse, the constable's own word. If thou art done, we'll draw thee from the mire of this irreverence love, wherein thou stickest, up to the ears. Come, we burn daylight, oh.
Nay, that's not so.
I mean, sir, in delay. We waste our lights in vain like lamps by day. Take our good meaning For our judgment sits 5 times in that you're once in our 5 wits.
And we mean well in going to this mass, but 'tis not wit to go.
Why, may one ask?
I dreamed a dream tonight.
And so did I.
Well, what was yours?
The dreamers often lie.
In bed, asleep, while they do dream things true.
Oh. Then I see Queen Mab had been with you. She is the fairy's midwife. And she comes in shape, no bigger than an agate stone, on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomies athwart men's noses as they lie asleep. Her wagon spokes, made of long spider's legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, her traces of the smallest spider's web, her colours of the moonshine's watery beam, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, the wagon, a small grey-coated gnat, not half so big as a round little worm, pricked from the lazy finger of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut, made by the joiner's squirrel or old grub. Time out of mind, the fairies' coachmakers, and in this state she gallops night by night through lovers' brains, and then, oh, they dream of love. Or courtiers' knees that dream on curtsies straight, or lawyers' fingers who straight dream on fees, or ladies' lips who straight on kisses dream. Which off the angry mab with blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweet meats tainted are. This is the hag that when maids lie on their backs that presses them and learns them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. This is she.
Peace, peace, Mercutio, peace. Thou talkst of nothing.
True, I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain begot of nothing but vain fantasy, which is as thin of substance as the air, and more inconstant than the wind who woos even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being angered, puffs away from hence, turning his face to the dew-dropping south.
This wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. Supper is done and we shall come too late.
I fear too early. For my mind misgives some consequence, yet hanging in the stars shall bitterly begin his fearful date. With this night's revels and expire the term of a despised life closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of untimely death. But he that hath the steerage of my course direct my sail, on, lusty gentlemen!
Strike drum!
A Capulet party is a party to end all parties, and tickets are like gold dust. So when Romeo and his friends end up there, the fiery Tybalt is not impressed. While the conflict between the Capulet and Montague families is obvious, this scene opens a window into the conflict that happens within the Capulet family. Here, actors Michael James Ford playing Capulet and Matthew O'Brien playing Tybalt talk about the struggle between the older head of the family and the younger king of cats.
This scene is the big party that Capulet throws to impress the people of Verona, and particularly to honor his daughter, Juliet, and to impress the man they hope will marry Juliet, who is the wealthy Paris.
Another thing about this scene as well is that it represents the conflict not just within the overarching narrative of the play, but also the internal conflict between the Capulets and the bit of a struggle with power between Tybalt and his uncle. Absolutely.
Capulet is a very, very powerful man. He's a wealthy man. He's not often crossed. And he's also got a political side that the various Montagues have infiltrated the party But when it's pointed out to him, he's prepared to let it go because he'd lose face if there was trouble at the party. But he's challenged by his nephew, Tybalt.
So Tybalt represents kind of the more chaotic aspects that potentially his uncle once had many moons ago, and maybe time has tempered him to become more of a Machiavellian politician as opposed to an outwardly aggressive soldier on the front lines, which kind of Tybalt represents now, the new blood, very much eager to prove himself in the realms of the family, and hoping, I suppose, eventually to have his foot on that rung of power within the family also, and also to impress you. I think there's an element of that as well.
Yeah, Tybalt is very much cut from the same kind of cloth, and he has a fiery temper. He's known for his swordsmanship, but so was Capulet in his day. And while Capulet seems to have adopted the smooth ways of a politician, as we find out as the play progresses, he still has that vicious temper.
Like you see it in this scene, especially at the end, or I will make you quiet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not as subtle as like the start of it where he's trying to almost palmos and placate Tybalt to just relax now, leave Romeo alone. I mean, this is a massive infringement towards Tybalt's honour. I'm remembering as well that he's just come from a fray with the Montagues, you know, at the start of the play. And now the very people that he fought at the start and potentially got a little bit injured during that fight have come to his turf, which is a huge affront to him. And he hopes, well, I think Tybalt believes that you will take this as seriously as he's taking it. But of course, that doesn't happen. And you're a lot more.
And as far as I'm concerned, Tybalt has overstepped the mark.
Yeah.
And he's challenging Capulet's power.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge. It takes courage, I suppose, for Tybalt to stand up to his uncle, who, I'm sure for many years, he just took to his direction and was never questioned. Now he's starting to say things like, it's a shame questioning your judgment on what's going on in your home, which is obviously, can't go without some kind of rebuttal. But it's very interesting, because I suppose with the play, it's kind of, we know the overarching narrative with the conflict between the Montagues and the Capulets, but this is a really nice insight into the conflict within a specific family, namely the Capulets, having a little bit of a argument.
Yeah.
The scene reveals that Capulet does not want this party spoiled, and he needs to keep the fiery Tybalt on a short leash. So, from the dressing down he gets from his uncle, he's full of sound and fury and has his sights set on Romeo.
This, by his voice, should be a Montague. Dares the slave come hither, covered with an antic face, to fleer and scorn at our solemnity? And with a stock in honour of my kin, to strike him dead, I hold it not a sin.
Why? How now, kinsman, wherefore storm you so?
Uncle, this is a Montague, our foe. A villain that is hither come in spite to scorn at our solemnity this night.
Young Romeo, is it?
'Tis he, that villain Romeo.
Content thee, gentle curs. He bears them as a portly gentleman. And to say truth, Verona brags of him to be a virtuous and well-governed youth. I would not, for the wealth of all the town here in my house, do him disparagement. Therefore be patient. Let him alone. It is my will. The which, if thou respect, show a fair presence and put off these frowns. An ill-beseeming semblance for a feast.
It fits when such a villain is a guest.
He shall be endured. What, good man boy, I say he shall. Go to. Am I the master here or you? Go to. You'll not endure him. God shall mend my soul. You'll make a mutiny among the guests. You'll set cock-a-hoop. You'll be the man.
Why, uncle, 'tis a shame.
You are a saucy boy. So indeed. This trick may chance to scathe you. I know what. You must contrary me. Marry, 'tis time.
On, gentlemen.
Well said, my hearts. You are a princox. Go! Be quiet. Or... More light! More light for shame! I'll make you quiet. What? Cheerly, my hearts!
Patience force with willful colour meeting makes my flesh tremble in their different greeting. I will withdraw, but this intrusion now seeming sweet shall convert to bitter gall.
It's been said that every play that has ever been written is, in some way or another, about the need for love. If ever a couple symbolized young love, then it must be Romeo and Juliet. But how did they fall in love so quickly? What's that all about? Here, Niamh, who plays Juliet, reflects on love at first sight.
Yeah, I believe in love at first sight. Well, I think that
No.
Juliet definitely believes in love at first sight. She has to. And that's why I find this character hard when I first started, because I was like, how can they fall in love so quickly? But they just have to. it just has
For
to
it
be
to work.
instant love. And then, yeah, that's what Shakespeare's telling you to happen. That's what has to happen. Do I believe? Not so much. I think it's definitely more infatuation at first sight, like a big old crush.
Yeah, lost.
And then love is more something you have to work hard to maintain.
Exactly.
Wait a minute, wasn't Romeo in love with Rosalind?
Felix, why? What's the whole deal with Rosalind? Like,
Oh, Rosalind.
yeah,
Do we have to go into
you know,
that
you were
now?
kind of into her for a bit.
She's nothing. She's nothing. You know? No. I think me and Rosalind, we had our time together, but, you know, we weren't equals, you know? We weren't right for each other.
And is that what's
The
different?
puzzle didn't fit, you know?
Is that what's different between Rosalind and Juliet? Do you feel like you have more in common or something?
I do, yeah. I feel like they get on in a way that he's never got on with anyone before. I feel like with Juliet, which you kind of even really see in the first time they meet, is that they're both very intelligent and they can talk to a way that I don't think anyone else talks to Romeo, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that instantly, as well as her kind of like, you know, ethereal beauty.
Is love forever young? It all ends very tragically here. But what if things had turned out differently? Would they still be together?
Yeah.
If he hadn't died, if he had stayed together, and you know, like how often your first love, you don't stay with your first love. In school, you think, oh, this is going to be forever, and it's not.
Are you okay, Rich?
Okay, I'm fine, I'm so fine. Do you think that they would have grown old happily together? Or
Yes.
do you think that they are too different? So once that like first love fizzles out and the lust fizzles out, and then it's just reality.
Yeah.
And he's a dreamer and
Yeah.
romantic.
I mean, it
and-
depends when you said it. I mean, if it was set in Shakespeare's time,
Yeah.
marriage is forever. That's it. You know,
yeah,
you're
even
locked
if you're
in.
not happy.
Even if you're not happy.
Yeah.
But I think even if it was set in Shakespeare's time, like Romeo, Shakespeare himself, he went off to London for 6 months out of the year, and Anne Hathaway's left at home. But when they met, it was the meeting of the minds again, and there was like a real solid friendship there. So even if it wasn't like the love and marriage that we know today,
Yeah.
it was unconventional. But I think they still just have this bond that's going to keep them together.
Okay.
I think.
And what if it was set in today's time?
Divorced before 30. She's got 3 kids. She's going to Mexico.
She's going to Mexico herself.
Back to Cancun, yeah.
The story is told on stage by the actors, and the creative team behind them helps to do that. The sound designer imagines what aural elements might be used to underscore action, to reflect mood, and to create tension. Sounds from the environment, noises, combined effects, and music can instantly trigger feelings and images that add another dimension to the overall production design. And when there are no words, the soundscape sets the tone and sings the unspoken emotion of the scene. Most horror movies lose the power to scare when you turn off the sound. Some even have you smiling when you do that. And here, in a scene that is all about first love, what is seen, but also what is heard, can help to bring an audience closer to what is being portrayed. In a scene that is so much about first love, tenderness, and the fizz of feelings running riot, director and actors face a big challenge. How do you present a scene that has lots of hand-holding and at least 2 kisses in a COVID-compliant way? Well, here's one way. Take a look.
If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle fine is this, my lips, 2 blushing pilgrims ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss.
Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands, which pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss.
Have not saints lips, and holy palmers too?
I pilgrim lips that they must use in prayer.
Oh, then, dear saint, let lips do what hands do. They pray, grant thou, lest faith turn to despair.
Saints do not move, though grant for prayer's sake.
Then move not, while my prayer's effect I take. Thus, from my lips by yours, my sin is purged.
Then have my lips the sin that they have took.
Sin from thy lips, oh, trespass sweetly urged, give me my sin again.
You kiss by the book.
Madam! Your mother craves a word with you.
What is her mother?
Mary Bachelor. Her mother is the lady of the house. And a good lady, and a wise and virtuous. I nursed her daughter that you talked withal. I tell ya, he that can lay hold of her shall have the chinks.
Is she a Capulet? Oh dear, I count my life's and my foe's debt.
Come hither, nurse. What's he that follows there, that would not dance?
I know not.
What? Go, ask his name. If he be married, my grave is like to be my wedding bed.
His name is Romeo, and Montague, the only son of your great enemy.
My only love sprung from my only hate. Too early seen, unknown, and known too late. Prodigious birth of love it is to me that I must love a loathed enemy.
What do you do when you realize you've fallen in love with the girl of your dreams, but she happens to be the daughter of your family's greatest enemy? Do you, A, knock it on the head and say, well, it was nice while it lasted, B, look for another fish in the sea, or C, jump the garden wall, dodge the security cameras, and call up to her bedroom window, declaring your love?
He jests at scars that never felt a wound, but soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon who is already sick and pale with grief. that thou, her maid, art more fair than she, but not her maid. Since she is envious, her vest of livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. Oh, it is my lady, oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were.
Ay me.
She speaks. Speak again, bright angel.
Oh, Romeo. Romeo. Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Oh, shall I hear more, or shall I speak at
'Tis
this?
but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though, not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, so Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes. Without that title, Romeo doff thy name. And for that name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth I never will be Romeo.
What man art thou that thus bescreened in night so stumblest on my counsel?
By a name. I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word.
My ears have not yet drunk 100 words of that tongue's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike.
How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here.
With love's light wings they o'erperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out. And what love can do that dares love attempt, therefore thy kinsmen are no led to me.
If they do see thee, they will murder thee.
Alack, there lies more peril in thine eyes than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity.
I would not for the world they saw thee here.
I have night's cloak to hide me from their sight, and but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued wanting thy love.
Oh, thou knowest the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak tonight. Fain would I dwell on form, and fain deny what I have spoke, but farewell compliment. Dost thou love me?
Oh.
I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swearest, thou mayest prove false. At lovers' perjuries they say Jove laughs. O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully.
Oh, lady, by yonder blessed moon, I swear that tips with silver these fruit tree tops.
Oh, swear not by the moon. Well, the inconstant moon that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable.
What should I swear by?
Do not swear at all. Or if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the god of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee.
If my heart's dear love...
Well, do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning which doth cease to be ere one can say it lightens. Sweet good night. This bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. Good night. Good night. A sweet repose and rest come to thy heart as that within my breast.
Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight?
The exchange of thou love's faithful vow for mine.
I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again.
No, wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love?
My bounty is boundless as the sea, my love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. Adam! I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu. Anon, good nurse! 3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honourable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite. And all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world.
Madam!
So thrive my soul.
1,000 times good night.
1,000 times the worse to want thy light.
Good night. Good night. good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow.
Sleep, dwell upon thy nice peace in thy breast. Oh, would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. Thus will I to my ghostly father sell his help to crave and my dear hap to tell.
Love and conflict are never far away from one another in the play, and when they collide, it's up close, deep, and personal. When Juliet hears that Romeo, the love of her life, has killed Tybalt, the cousin she's known all of her life, she must decide where her loyalty lies. But Juliet is not the only one with a difficult choice. The nurse is also conflicted, wanting to do the best for Juliet, despite knowing that Romeo killed Tybalt. Here, Niamh playing Juliet and Rachel playing Nurse talk about this awful conflict and how, as actors, they found a way into the dilemma presented in the scene.
So Niamh, I think we were talking about how much conflict that there is, especially in this scene, because there's so much like inner conflict, I think.
Yeah.
Like for me, coming into the scene, I know that I'm conflicted because I'm so mad at Romeo. I'm so angry at him for killing Tybalt. I'm distraught that Tybalt is dead. I also know how you're going to react to some degree. So I think I know you're going to be like devastated, but I don't realise just how it's going to affect you to the like that monologue that you where you have all these like back and forth about, but he would have killed Romeo if he didn't kill my cousin and all this.
And do you think the nurse is expecting her to be so to choose Romeo over Tybalt as to who she cares more about?
I don't know.
Does that come as a shock?
Yeah, I think it does. I think if you go and tell someone like your new husband is after killing your cousin.
Yeah.
Like
your new husband of like 2 days.
Of 2 days that you met how many days ago?
3 days.
3 days ago? Yeah. 2.5 days ago? Has just killed your cousin.
Yeah.
Like you probably expect them to be like
family first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blood is thicker kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But when I see I think the state that you get into, and there's such a change, that's why she's so conflicted as well. There's such a change in you from when you then are very much like, no, okay, I'm going to stick by my husband. I have loyalty to him now.
Yeah.
I think that's why then I decide, I'm going to put my own anger for Romeo aside. I'm going to go get him because I know that he can make this better. He can comfort you.
Yeah, and you have to kind of swallow your pride in that moment.
And what I feel, what I want to say to you, and what I think, instead of being like, what are you, you're crazy, like your cousin is dead, like instead of, because I don't say anything.
Yeah.
I'm literally just, and I think it's really interesting the way we played it as well, just looking towards each other, because we tried it a few ways, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't until that moment where Jeff was like, okay, look at each other and try it now. We were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like really lock on. And then I think you could see, because Juliet's flip-flopping between the two at all times, and she kind of goes internal, but the fact that I had to keep looking at you.
keep looking at me and talking to you.
Yeah, you could see how distressed she was getting.
Yeah, especially when you talk to me in the when you're like, when she, when you refer to me as
like,
she.
where is she gone?
Yeah, I'm like, she's after losing it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really...
Both of their conflicts in this scene are born out of like
out of love.
Yeah. And they, Juliet's like, who do I love more?
Yeah.
And then eventually, you kind of follow her thoughts, and she has to make the decision at some point.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Well, my husband is still alive, and that's all she has left.
Yeah.
So she's
and
like,
her loyalty to
okay,
him.
that's where it is. And I think it's on that line. She just makes the decision. She's like, that villain cousin would have killed my husband.
Yeah.
That's her making the decision. Okay, we're going with Romeo.
Yeah.
And I think
the same for me. I think,
yeah.
But for the love that I have for you, because I'm the most motherly, person to you. Your mom isn't very maternal. Like Lady Capulet is definitely not a maternal figure for you. So it's my love for you that I'm like, okay, I'll put my anger aside and I'll go get him. Yeah. I'll bring the ring to him. I'll go do my bidding. Yeah. So it is good. I think that love conquers all in this play to some degree.
In bringing a play to life on stage, the director works with a creative team, and their roles are to support the work of the actors. Chris Mooney, the lighting designer, talks with director Jeff O'Keefe about what lighting states would best capture and reflect the mood of the scene. The lighting not only illuminates the actors, but it also suggests atmospheres, creates tension, and adds so much to the overall visual storytelling.
Gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus' lodging. Such a wagoner's phaeton would whip you to the west and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread thy close curtain, love-performing night, that runaways' eyes may wink and Romeo leap to these arms, untalked of and unseen. Now, nurse, what news? Why dost thou wring thy hands?
Oh, Tybalt, the best friend I had. Courteous, Tybalt, honest gentleman, that ever I should live to see thee dead.
What storm is this that blows so contrary?
Tybalt is gone, and Romeo banished. Romeo that killed him, he is banished.
Oh God, did Romeo's hand shed Tybalt's blood?
It did. It did, alas, the day it did.
Oh, serpent heart hid with a flowering face. Did ever dragon keep so fair a cave? Shall I speak ill of him that is my husband? Ah, poor my lord, what tongue shall smooth thy name when I, thy 3-hour wife, have mangled it? But wherefore, villain, didst thou kill my cousin? That villain cousin would have killed my husband. Some word there was worser than Tybalt's death that murdered me. I would forget it fain, but oh, it presses to my memory like damned guilty deeds to sinners' minds. Tybalt is dead, and Romeo banished. That banished, that one word, banished, hath slain 10,000 Tybalts. Tybalt's death was woe enough if it had ended there. Or if sour woe delights in fellowship, and needly will be ranked with other griefs, why follow not when she said Tybalt's dead thy father, or thy mother, nay, or both, which modern lamentation might have moved? But with a rearward following Tybalt's death, Romeo is banished. To speak that word is father, mother, Tybalt, Romeo, Juliet, all slain, all dead. Romeo is banished. There is no end, no limit, measure, bound in that word's death. No words can that woe sound.
Hie to your chamber. I'll find Romeo to comfort you.
I'll find him. Give this ring to my true knight, and bid him come to take his last farewell.
To be banished forever, or to face death. Which to choose? For Romeo, death would be easier than being banished forever, knowing that he could never see Juliet again. Felix, playing Romeo, and Matt, playing Friar, talk about what's at stake in this scene.
So, I think this scene is important because we just see how much is at stake for Romeo. I think before the scene, I think he thinks this is either going to be, he's going to be sentenced to death or prison, and then we find out that he's banished, and then in that, we also find out that banishment is worse than death for Romeo. So it shows how much he wants to be with Juliet. A life without her is worse than death. which I think to a lot of people, after what he's done, after killing someone, banishment would almost be a good thing. Oh, I get to go off, live in Mantua, sweet.
Yeah. And the friar comes in with that energy of like, this is good news. You've avoided death.
You've got a win here. But to Romeo, it's anything. It's worse than worse. I think for him, it's almost like death would be quick. It would be sweet.
Yeah.
But to live in a world where he can be alive and be aware that he's not with her is like eternal punishment. Just forever being there. So I think it's a good thing that we see that as well.
Yeah, I think as well it gives the friar time to formulate some kind of plan. Banishment allows us to work from a position of power as opposed to, well, if you're dead and buried, then the game's over. You know what I mean? And
Definitely.
We can't solve this. And that's as much for him as it is for you.
While you certainly could argue that the advice given to Romeo by the friar comes from a good place, it could hardly be seen as good advice. But despite this, the relationship between them is a strong one, as the actors now discuss.
The relationship that we have, Romeo to the friar.
They've got a funny little relationship.
Yeah, it's paternal, like it's like a father-son relationship. I don't know if you think so.
Yeah, like that, but also kind of like, I think a little bit like a teacher. Like I do feel that like Romeo looks up to him in a way.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi to Daniel Russo. Yeah.
He kind of wants to learn things from him.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they have a relationship where Romeo tells him things that he doesn't tell anyone else, He tells you about Rosaline, which I think is almost quite a strange thing for him to tell you, He's this kind of friar. And
totally,
yet he's telling him about his newest loves, which seems like that would be something,
Yeah. What I particularly like about the relationship as well is that, it's let's just say, a power dynamic insofar as, the friar is Romeo's elder, but it also shows the fallibility of those we deem to be our elders and more wise than us, Friar, for all intents and purposes, goes into this headlong, and it ultimately doesn't end too well for Romeo and Juliet. But the father-son relationship is kind of the baseline that I work with. There's genuine affection between them.
Yeah, there is, and they have little jokes as well. In between them. I feel like that scene after the balcony where he runs to Friar and he's been out all night and they have these long discussions. I feel like that's not the first time that's happened. I feel like that happens quite a lot.
Yeah.
He runs in and he's been out all night and he's, I've just heard this, and he's like, okay, let's all just chill out for a second.
Like he's crashed in the Friars gaff a couple of times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what's nice about the Friar as well. Like, again, we assume, I suppose, Friar is different to a priest in many respects, but it's still a holy man.
Yeah, well, there's like a lack of formality with them, which is nice. Which I feel like, which is why he doesn't go to his parents, because I think he's, they would tell him off or something like that. Where I think with Friar, he can be open in a way where he's not going to be judged.
Yeah.
Directing a play is about working with the company, understanding and realizing the writer's intentions. Working with actors should not be about telling them what to do, where to move, or what to think. Directors aren't playing chess, and actors certainly don't want to be the pawns they move around their chessboard. Here, director Jeff O'Keefe talks to the actors about what's at stake in the scene. Notice how he suggests ideas to the actors. He poses questions to start a dialogue, and he asks the actors if these choices feel right for them. After all, the director will not be on the stage, but the actor will be.
Okay, guys. So let's take it from the beginning again. Talk to me, Matt, about what's happened before the scene started.
Right. So the friar has been to an assembly, let's just say, or a forum with the prince after the death of Mercutio and Tybalt, and has decreed basically that Romeo is to be banished from Verona. And sent to Mantua. So we're sending him to Mantua. So he's to be sent away.
So he's coming here with that news.
Yeah.
Romeo has been kind of holed up, hiding out in his cell. He's bringing this news, so he's probably kind of rushed. Here. So has that energy about it?
Okay. So he's coming in more.
He's coming in and bring that sort of sense of like desperate to tell him this news,
Yeah.
And also, I mean, that might have, he might be physically exerted, he might be out of breath, and how does that change the way the news is delivered?
Okay.
Yeah?
Do you want me to walk into it?
Yeah. We'll come into it. And then, Felix, for you, when Romeo has been sitting here and he's hiding out, what has he been thinking? What does he think are the possible consequences of this?
Well, either death or or prison, I guess, for the rest of his life. So, really.
And do you think has banishment come into his head?
No.
Okay, so this.
No, I don't think he. I think he was kind of thinking that he'd be hanged. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a shock to him.
It's a new revelation. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So let's just take it then to the part where he reveals that you're going to be banished, and then let's see your response to that.
Yeah.
We'll just stop there.
Yep,
okay,
perfect.
with those things in mind. Okay.
Super, yeah.
Yeah.
Romeo, come forth. Come forth, thou fearful man.
Oh, Father, what news? What is the prince's doom? What sorrow craves acquaintance at my hand that I yet know not?
Too familiar is my dear son with such sour company. I bring thee tidings of the prince's doom.
What less than doomsday is the prince's doom?
A gentler judgment vanished from his lips. Not body's death, but body's banishment.
Huh. Banishment?
Huh.
Be merciful. Say death. For exile hath much more terror in his look, much more than death.
Okay, great. So what differences were there for you guys then?
Well, there's more of an urgency.
Yeah.
Technically, there's the breath. You control the breath. You kind of give it more of a... you would be if he's run from this distance. Also as excited about this news to give to him. He's avoided death. It's banishment. It's good news,
Yeah.
I think, I think the intention changes on the line, I think, because I think then it was a lot more active. It was like, tell me what's going to happen instantly. He can't wait to find out, that second line, And
I feel that sort of increases the tension then within the scene, do you know?
Yeah.
You're bringing in this news and it feels that your body language, the way you're breathing, the sound of your voice sort of carries that sort of tension, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
There's a lovely moment there, Felix, when he revealed to you that you were going to be banished. And you just kind of, you let it hang in the air, do you know? And it was like you're processing this information, which I thought felt really true to the piece.
In order to help the actors increase the tension in the scene and raise the stakes, the director suggests to the actors that the walls might have ears. Look at how the energy and dynamic of the scene changes.
Let's play with the notion that this play has so many secrets in it, doesn't it? Like you marry the two lovers, that's a secret, you help them to spend the night together, the nurse helps them to spend the night together, you're going to send them off to Mantua, so it's full of secrets. But it's a dangerous world that we live in, and for you in particular, as friar, Matt, you're caught now between two warring families, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's play with the notion then that all around us, there's danger.
Okay.
And let's bring in that danger into this room with the sense that the walls have ears. Yeah? So there's that you have to be really careful about sort of like imparting information to someone else. Yeah?
You want the previous energy as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So bring that, but control it so it doesn't sort of like, the scene can settle and it doesn't feel rushed. Yeah?
Yeah.
But bring that sense of the walls have ears into it, okay?
Okay.
Thanks,
Perfect.
guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Romeo! Come forth. Come forth, thou fearful man.
Oh, Father, what news? What is the prince's doom? What sorrow craves acquaintance at my hand that I yet know not?
Too familiar is my dear son with such sour company. I bring thee tidings of the prince's doom.
What less than doomsday is the prince's doom?
A gentler judgment vanished from his lips. Not body's death, but body's banishment.
Banishment? Oh, be merciful.
Brilliant. Okay, see the difference there?
Yeah.
It just feels that there's more at stake now.
Yeah, raises the stakes.
It feels that what you're bringing in, Matt, is it's game-changing. Like, this is a real sort of event. Do you know what I mean? This is going to change the course of how things go for you. Do you know? You now have to leave your wife of a few hours,
Well, yeah, it's life and death, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. That was really good, guys. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
No problem.
And from this work, a scene is built and then plays out like this.
Romeo, come forth. Come forth, thou fearful man.
Father, what news? What is the prince's doom? What sorrow craves acquaintance at my hand that I hit no not?
Too familiar is my dear son with such sour company. I bring thee tidings of the prince's doom.
What less than doomsday is the prince's doom?
A gentler judgment vanished from his lips. Not body's death, but body's banishment.
Banishment? Huh? Oh, be merciful. Say death. For exile hath much more terror in his look, much more than death. Do not say banishment.
I'll give thee armour to keep off that word. Adversity's sweet milk. Philosophy to comfort thee, though thou art banished.
Yet, banished. Hang up philosophy. Unless philosophy can make a Juliet, this plant a town reverse a prince's doom, it helps not, it prevails not, talk no more.
Then I see madmen have no ears.
Well, how can they? When wise men have no eyes.
Let me dispute with thee of thy estate.
And thou canst not talk of that, thou dost not feel. Wert thou as young as I, Juliet, thy love, an hour but married, Tybalt murdered, doting like me, and like me banished, then might thou speak. Then mightst thou tear thy hair, fall upon the ground, as I do now, talking the measure of an unmade grave.
The conflict in the Capulet household reaches a crescendo when Capulet takes out all his anger and frustration on Juliet. Here, Michael playing Capulet and Niamh playing Juliet reflect on why he is so angry.
Why is Capulet so angry in this scene towards Juliet?
Yeah, he really loses it, doesn't he?
He does. He really does lose it. And I think he adores her. I mean, they do. Lady Capulet and himself, she's their only child. And they're mad about her. They want the best for her. And they've been, from the beginning of the play, they've been planning the marriage with Paris. Then she's desperately upset. We think it's because of Tybalt's death. And so what better way to cheer her up than to bring the marriage forward? And she won't have it. So he's used to always getting his way. He's old style patriarch. He does have a ferocious temper. And he loses it, but it's informed by the fact he feels so rejected. He's really trying to do something for her. He comes in, full of love and beaming to break the happy news, and she throws it back in his face. So that's why.
I don't reckon she's ever seen him like this before. Like, I think Juliet was a good girl up until this point, She's never seen him fly off the handle.
No. And we forget what age she is. She's 13?
Like 13, just about, 13, nearly.
Like, being told you're going to be kicked out of your house.
Starve, beg, die on the streets. I mean, it's an incredible threat. A really vicious threat. And he means it, but he also, it's like going nuclear. It's the nuclear option.
And it just shows you his pride. That's the real reason that the whole divide exists, you know? Capulet's pride.
So you've got so much conflict between the two families, but then you've got so much of it then within each family, like within our family, definitely.
As the threat of being thrown out on the streets is ringing in her ears, Juliet finds no comfort in the arms of her mother. Here, Rachel, now playing Lady Capulet, wonders why.
I mean, I don't know if they had that strong relationship in the first place.
No, I don't think so, because the nurse raised you. She was your mother figure.
Probably because you were too young when you had me to know
I
what
probably
to do.
went through the exact same thing, and I'm just like, just suck it up. I had to do it.
And where you'd have these basically an arranged marriage.
And that's what I had to do.
Where it's about money and power and convenience. And that's probably what you had.
So seeing you going against it, like...
Where'd you get off?
How come you get to be like, how come I had to do it and you're deciding to take a different path? Like,
In one of the most challenging scenes in the play, the actors work to ensure they capture the desperation of a girl whose world is being pulled apart. It's a scene that shows how love can be such a difficult thing.
How now, wife? Have you delivered to her our decree?
Aye, sir, but she will none. She gives you thanks. I would the fool were married to her grave.
Soft. Take me with you. Take me with you, wife. How will she none? Does she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? Does she not count her blessed, unworthy as she is that we have wrought so worthy a gentleman to be her bridegroom?
Not proud you have, but thankful that you have. Proud can I never be of what I hate, but thankful even for hate that is meant love.
How now? How now? Chopped logic. What is this? Proud, and I thank you, and I thank you not, and yet not proud? Mistress Minion, you thank me no thankings, nor proud me no prouds, but fettle your fine joints against Thursday next, to go with Paris to St. Peter's Church, or I will drag thee on a hurdle thither. Out, you green sickness carrion! Out, you baggage, you tallow face!
Fie, what are you, mad?
Good father, I beseech you on my knees, hear me with patience, but to speak a word.
Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch. I'll tell thee what, get thee to church a Thursday, or never after look me in the face again. Speak not, reply not, do not answer me! My fingers itch. Wife, scarce thought us blessed that God had lent us but this only child, but now I see this one is one too much. And then we have a curse in having her. Out on her hilding!
You are too hot.
God's bread. It makes me mad. Day, night, hour, tide, time, work, play, alone in company, still my care hath been to see her matched. And having now provided a gentleman of noble parentage, of fair demean, youthful and nobly trained, stuffed, as they say, with honourable parts, proportioned as one's thought would wish a man, and then to have a wretched, puling fool, a whining mammoth in a fortune's favour, to say, I'll not wed, I cannot love, I am too young, I pray you pardon me. Well, as you will not wed, I'll pardon thee. Graze where you will, you shall not house with me. Look to it, think on't. I do not use to jest.
Is there no pity sitting in the clouds that sees into the bottom of my grief? Oh, sweet my mother, cast me not away. Delay this marriage a month, a week, or if you will not, make the bridal bed in that dim monument where Tybalt lies.
Talk not to me, for I'll not say a word. Do as thou wilt, for I have done with thee.
Romeo and Juliet have become symbols of first love. They remind us of the joy there is in being young, yet at the heart of the play, there is conflict, hate, and despair. It is romance that could never fully be. A love that is destroyed far too soon. It's a pair of young lovers who commit suicide rather than live without each other. It speaks to us now as it did when Shakespeare wrote it over 400 years ago. And the story becomes a play when it hits the stage. Our stages have been hit so hard in these times of COVID-19. The return of full audiences to our performing spaces can't come soon enough, because the play is nothing without an audience to witness it. We'll get there. And once again the house lights will dim, the audience will hush, and the play will begin.